Many people spend their younger years focused on building a life, pursuing careers, raising families, and striving to achieve goals. But after 60, life begins to shift. Priorities change, routines slow down, and moments of reflection become more frequent. This stage of life is not just about aging. It is about stepping into a deeper, richer, and more meaningful phase of spiritual growth. While society often frames growing older as a time of decline, God sees it as a time of transformation. Your later years are not an afterthought. They are part of His divine plan. You are not forgotten, not without purpose, and certainly not finished. In fact, these years may be some of the most spiritually significant of your entire life. One of the most powerful truths about God's plan after 60 is that He is never done working in and through you. Many people fall into the trap of believing that their best years are behind them, that they have already done all they were meant to do. But the Bible is filled with examples of people whom God used mightily in their later years. Abraham and Sarah were well past childbearing age when God fulfilled His promise to give them a son. Moses was 80 when he led the Israelites out of Egypt. Anna, the prophetess, spent her old age worshipping, praying, and waiting for the Messiah. God does not look at age as the world does. He looks at the heart. If you are still here, it means your purpose is not yet complete. One of the greatest blessings of faith in later life is the wisdom that comes from years of experience. When you are young, life often feels rushed, filled with decisions, responsibilities, and pressures that can cloud spiritual clarity. But with age comes perspective. The lessons you have learned, the challenges you have faced, and the hardships you have endured have all shaped you into someone with wisdom to share. This wisdom is not meant to be hidden or dismissed. It is meant to be used. God calls you to be a light to others, to share your experiences, to offer guidance, and to be an example of faith for younger generations. Whether through mentoring, encouraging friends and family, or simply living a life of integrity and grace, your presence is a gift to those around you. A crucial part of embracing God's plan after 60 is trusting in His timing. Many people look back on their lives and feel a sense of unfinished business, dreams that were never realized, prayers that seemed unanswered, hopes that were left unfulfilled. But God's timing is perfect. What may have seemed like delays or disappointments in the past were actually part of His divine design. Some blessings take decades to unfold, and some prayers are answered in ways we never expected. Just because something has not happened yet does not mean it never will. Trusting in God's plan means surrendering the need for control and believing that He is still at work, even when you cannot see it. Another powerful aspect of faith after 60 is the ability to deepen your relationship with God in ways that were difficult in earlier years. When you were younger, faith may have been something squeezed into a busy schedule, prayers said in between meetings, church services attended out of habit, moments with God rushed through in the midst of daily life. But now, there is space. There is time to slow down, to listen, to sit in God's presence without distraction. This is an opportunity to develop a faith that is not just practiced but fully lived. Reading Scripture takes on new depth, prayers become more intimate, and God's voice becomes clearer. The older you get, the more you realize that faith is not about rituals or rules, it is about relationship. And in this season of life, that relationship can flourish like never before. God's plan after 60 also includes healing, both physical and emotional. Many people carry burdens from the past, regrets over mistakes made, pain from relationships that ended badly, grief over lost loved ones. These wounds, if left unaddressed, can weigh down the soul. But God does not want you to carry these burdens indefinitely. He is a God of restoration, and He calls you to release the things that no longer serve you. Forgiveness, both of yourself and others, is one of the most freeing gifts God offers. He does not want you to live in the shadows of yesterday's pain. He wants you to step into the light of His grace. One of the most dangerous lies of the enemy is that you are too old to make a difference. The world may tell you that your time of influence has passed, that younger generations are the ones who matter now. But God's kingdom does not operate that way. He has given you a lifetime of experiences, wisdom, and faith, not so that you would keep it to yourself, but so that you would use it for His glory. There are still people who need your encouragement. There are still lives you can touch, prayers you can pray, and seeds of faith you can plant. Whether through volunteering, mentoring, serving in ministry, or simply being present for those who need guidance, your impact does not diminish with age. It grows. Another aspect of faith after 60 is learning to embrace joy in the present moment. Many people become so focused on what has been lost that they fail to see the blessings right in front of them. But God calls you to live with gratitude, to recognize His presence in the simple, everyday moments. The laughter of a grandchild, the beauty of a sunrise, the comfort of a conversation with an old friend, these are all reminders of God's love. Happiness is not found in reliving the past or fearing the future. It is found in acknowledging the goodness of today. Gratitude is a spiritual discipline that shifts your focus from what is missing to what is abundant. And the more you practice it, the more joy fills your heart. God's plan for you after 60 also includes preparing for eternity, not in a fearful way, but in a way that brings peace. Many people avoid thinking about the reality of their own mortality, but faith offers a different perspective. Rather than seeing the later years as a countdown, God invites you to see them as a time of spiritual preparation. This does not mean withdrawing from life. It means living fully, knowing that your time on earth is part of a much greater eternal story. It means focusing on what truly matters, loving God, loving others, and leaving behind a legacy of faith. One of the greatest callings in later life is to become a prayer warrior. With fewer distractions and more time for reflection, your prayers can take on a new power and depth. Prayer is not just a private conversation with God. It is a way of interceding for others, of shifting spiritual battles, of bringing heaven's influence to earth. There is no greater contribution to the world than a life spent in prayer. If you ever feel like you do not have a role to play, remember that your prayers are shaping lives in ways you cannot even see. One of the most incredible aspects of God's plan after 60 is that it offers a kind of spiritual clarity that is rarely experienced in younger years. The distractions that once consumed so much energy, the pursuit of success, the pressures of raising a family, the need for approval, begin to fade, allowing for a deeper understanding of what truly matters. This stage of life is an invitation to lean into faith in a way that was once difficult, to focus on eternal things rather than temporary concerns. It is an opportunity to see life from a higher perspective, to recognize how God has been guiding you all along, and to live each day with greater intention. Instead of chasing after things that do not satisfy, God calls you to seek what truly lasts: wisdom, love, and a closer relationship with Him. A significant shift that occurs in later years is the realization that your spiritual journey is not about reaching a final destination, but about deepening your connection with God every single day. Many people grow up believing that faith is about following a set of rules or adhering to religious traditions. But after a lifetime of experiences, trials, and personal growth, it becomes clear that faith is not just about rituals. It is about relationship. It is about walking with God in the quiet moments, hearing His voice in unexpected places, and recognizing His presence in the simplest joys of life. There is no final level of spiritual understanding. There is always more to learn, more to experience, more ways to draw closer to Him. One of the most powerful aspects of this season of life is the ability to pass down faith to future generations. This does not mean forcing beliefs onto others, but rather demonstrating through your actions, your love, and your wisdom what a life rooted in God truly looks like. Younger generations are searching for meaning, for guidance, for something that lasts. Many feel lost in a world that moves too fast, that values temporary pleasures over eternal truth. Your experiences, your faith, and your example can be a beacon of light in their lives. Whether through conversations, prayers, or simply living with integrity and kindness, you have the ability to shape lives in ways you may never fully see. Your presence matters. Your wisdom matters. Your faith has the power to impact generations long after you are gone. Another part of God's plan after 60 is the deepening of spiritual gifts. Many assume that their most productive years are behind them, but in reality, God often reveals new ways to serve, to love, and to make an impact as people grow older. Spiritual gifts are not limited to youth or physical ability. They grow and evolve as faith matures. Perhaps you once had the gift of leadership, but now you are called to encourage and uplift others. Maybe you have the gift of wisdom, gained from years of experience, that can help guide someone who is struggling. Some are called to intercession, using the power of prayer to fight spiritual battles on behalf of others. Others develop the gift of teaching, mentoring, or writing, sharing the lessons they have learned in a way that helps others grow. God's work through you does not slow down with age. It simply takes on new forms. Another important realization in later years is that God's plan is not just about what you do, but about how you are. Many people spend their early lives trying to prove themselves, trying to be productive, trying to accomplish great things, trying to earn their worth. But as you grow older, you begin to understand that your value is not in what you achieve, but in who you are in Christ. You do not have to constantly do in order to be worthy of love and purpose. God delights in you simply because you are His. Embracing this truth allows you to live with greater peace, letting go of the pressure to measure your life by accomplishments, and instead embracing the joy of simply being in God's presence. One of the most freeing aspects of faith after 60 is the ability to surrender control. In younger years, there is often an illusion of control. People believe that if they plan enough, work hard enough, and make the right decisions, they can shape life exactly as they want it to be. But time teaches a different lesson. Life is unpredictable. Circumstances change. Plans fall apart. And yet, through it all, God remains constant. Instead of resisting this truth, embracing it brings peace. Surrendering does not mean giving up. It means trusting that God's plan is greater than anything you could create for yourself. It means letting go of fear, of worry, of the need to always know what comes next. It means walking forward in faith, even when the path is unclear. Another calling that emerges in later years is the opportunity to cultivate a spirit of peace. In a world filled with noise, division, and constant turmoil, those who are grounded in faith have the ability to bring calm to those around them. Peace is not just the absence of conflict. It is a deep inner assurance that no matter what happens, God is in control. Those who live with this kind of peace become a refuge for others. Their presence brings comfort, their words bring wisdom, and their faith becomes a source of strength for those who are struggling. Choosing peace over anxiety, trust over fear, and love over division is one of the greatest ways to live out God's plan. Another crucial part of God's plan after 60 is the call to embrace joy. Many people mistakenly believe that growing older means experiencing less happiness, but in reality, this can be the most joyful season of life, if you allow it to be. Joy is different from happiness. Happiness is dependent on circumstances, but joy is a choice, a state of the soul that remains steady even in difficult times. Those who are most fulfilled in later life are those who have learned to find joy in the little things, in laughter, in nature, in deep conversations, in quiet moments of gratitude. They do not wait for joy to find them. They actively cultivate it by focusing on God's goodness, on the blessings that remain, and on the promise of eternity. Another profound realization that comes with age is the understanding that life is about giving, not just receiving. Many people spend their early years focused on building their own lives, gathering resources, working toward goals, securing their own future. But as time passes, it becomes clear that the greatest fulfillment comes from giving. giving love, giving wisdom, giving kindness, giving time. Generosity is one of the most powerful ways to reflect God's love in the world. Whether through acts of service, financial generosity, or simply offering a listening ear, those who embrace a life of giving experience a richness of spirit that nothing else can provide. Finally, one of the greatest aspects of faith after 60 is the ability to leave a legacy, not just in the form of material things, but in the form of faith, love, and wisdom passed down to others. Your life is a story, and every choice, every act of kindness, every moment of faith leaves an imprint on the people around you. What do you want to be remembered for? What values do you want to pass down? What kind of spiritual legacy do you want to leave behind? These are not just questions for the end of life. They are questions that shape how you live now. Every prayer you pray, every encouragement you give, every act of faith you demonstrate is part of the legacy you are building. God's plan for you after 60 is not about slowing down. It is about stepping into a new season of deeper faith, greater wisdom, and unshakable trust in Him. It is about living fully, loving generously, and embracing each day with gratitude and purpose. Your journey is not over. Your impact is not finished. Your best spiritual years may still be ahead of you. The question is, will you embrace them? Will you trust that God is still at work in your life? Will you step forward in faith, knowing that the one who has guided you this far will continue to lead you? The invitation is there. The choice is yours.